The president arrived here to Martha's Vineyard to a barrage of Republican criticism. They want the U.S. to be more aggressive in Iraq, and in fact, they suggest that if that doesn't happen, President Obama is risking another 9/11. Now, the White House strongly rejects that assertion. They say ISIS, as dangerous as these terrorists are, has shown no desire to carry out 9/11-style attacks. And I can tell you that talking to senior White House officials, the administration believes that these airstrikes and the drops of food and water are proving effective. Now, this morning, they are keeping a close eye on Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. You just heard that from Kiir, who's making moves to try to keep his job. The U.S. believes only a new prime minister can unite and stabilize Iraq. Members of the president's national security team are here in Martha's Vineyard with him. They brief him at least 3 times a day. And in the meantime, he has managed in 2 days, Matt, to get in 2 rounds of golf.
Very likely a not yet announced presidential candidate Hillary Clinton took a shot this weekend at putting plenty of distance between herself and President Obama over foreign policy. Plenty of disagreement still over the contested and nasty Mississippi primary race. And for those who believe a draft Romney movement is the worst thing Republicans could do, you will have to suffer the concept a bit longer. This and much more. Let's welcome back to MidPoint from inside the Beltway, Newsmax political insider John Gizzi. John, good Monday, and how are you?
I'm doing just phenomenal, Ed, and always a pleasure to be back, especially since I am back in the Beltway and just back from Chicago, where I covered the regular summer meeting of the Republican National Committee. Lots of news there.
We are going to get to that. Just very briefly, though, what are you hearing through the Beltway today with regard to the president, playing golf, Iraq, everything that's happening there? I mean, there's got to be a little buzz cooking around town.
Well, obviously, the buzz, as you put it, Ed, is about someone who isn't there. That is former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, with her criticism of the administration. The first words of criticism uttered against Barack Obama since she ran against him in 2008. The former Secretary of State has said he was at fault for not arming the Syrian refugees, and many of the turmoil in the Middle East results from that. Well, not since James Burns began to go public with his criticism of the Truman administration that he served as Secretary of State, as the former person of the senior cabinet position been so critical of the president formerly that he or she served under. This is a story that won't go away.
This can't be very surprising, though, because in The Atlantic she wrote, "The failure to help build up a credible fighting force of the people who were the originators of the protests against Assad. They were Islamists, secularists, everything in the middle. The failure to do that left a big vacuum, which the jihadists have now filled." I mean, nobody can really be surprised that she's trying to put some distance between herself and Obama, right? This certainly is just what normal politics would be at this stage.
Yes, normal politics at this stage. However, remember one thing. It's the timing of it that's unusual, and the fact that she apparently was so close to the president. One has to realize, when was the last time that someone in such a high appointed position began to be so critical of the president after they left? Now, the obvious question would be that if she felt so strong about arming the Free Syrian Army, why didn't she resign at the time? And then go public with the criticism, trying to have an effect on public policy. Again, I'm not sure how this is going to be taken, but it is a bit unusual.
From the RNC meetings, the RNC remaining hands off the Mississippi U.S. Senate controversy, I can see them running from this just as fast as Mrs. Clinton is running from the president right now. They want nothing to do with this, do they?
I think it's a case closed as far as the National Party is concerned. Only one member was willing to take up the cause of Chris McDaniel, who narrowly lost the nomination to veteran Senator Thad Cochran in Mississippi, and that was the Missouri State Chairman, Ed Martin. He didn't know either of the candidates, but he didn't like the tone of the ads criticizing another Republican. Many of these ads, the Cochran camp argued, were done independently by groups, and no one took up his call to censure Mississippi's National Committee man Henry Barber, an architect of the Cochran campaign. I might add, all of this was handled when the 168 members of the ruling body of the Republican National Committee met at a members-only breakfast, and Chairman Reince Priebus told them, "Please keep this in the family." Sure enough, this reporter was on the scene, and so many people said, sorry, I can't talk about it. It was members only. I did find out what happened.
Would you think that probably behind closed doors that if you were to get in there and they're just ear to the ground, you might have heard somebody actually say to Than McDaniel, shut up?
I think a lot of people are saying that right now, and I didn't need to be in any meeting to do that. I think another thing is this. I'm a Nats fan. I've probably lost a little bit of our audience by saying that. And I know one thing. Whether the Nats win or whether they lose, you congratulate the winner, and the loser is treated graciously. And so it is in politics. People who lose don't usually legislate, and when they lose badly, they don't come back again. And we've seen this in many cases over the years. You have to go back to Andrew Jackson losing to John Quincy Adams in 1824 to find a poor loser who won later. And I feel for Mr. McDaniel that he will not have another crack at the top honor in Mississippi when and if there's another Senate race.
About 45 seconds left. The draft Romney movement not exactly getting a big thumbs up from everybody, is it?
James Evans, who is the Republican chairman of Utah, has a Mitt Romney We Need You website. It's attracted a lot of signers online, but when one talked to other party leaders from other states, including Governor Romney's home state of Massachusetts, the consensus is usually he's a good man, we like him, but he's had his time, and usually, having run twice before, candidates don't get a third bite of the apple.
And I would tend to think that the RNC has got to be behind him if he would ever want to do it with no donate button or draftmitt.org or no donate button on draftmitt.org. I would think he's pretty much truthful when he says, I'm not going to run. John, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Get right back in there. We want you to dive back into the Beltway, put the flak jacket on, get back in there and find out more so you can put it up on Newsmax.com and talk to us here.
Okay, just have me back, Ed. I'll keep digging.
We'll do that. Keep digging, John. Thanks so much. John Gizzi covers Washington, D.C. inside the Beltway. We tell you this all the time. Please go to Newsmax.com. That's where John's reports are being seen, being heard, being read. And then we talk to him every week, a couple of times right here on MidPoint to find out what's going on inside the Beltway. It is a nasty place indeed. Takes a man like that to basically live it. After the break, Steve Malzberg fills us in on his guest roster. We bring you the Monday edition of On Point. It's coming up right here where we question everything.